Hello and welcome to the BC Emergency Alert Detailed Training. This training is intended for those with an interest in using BC Emergency Alerts and are external to the Ministry of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness. This includes First Nation and local authority representatives, critical infrastructure providers, and emergency management and climate readiness partner agencies and ministries. We do have a quick note about terminology. BC emergency alerts were previously referred to as broadcast intrusive or BI alerts. They're the same things. There is a wildfire quickly approaching your community and an evacuation order has been issued. The entire community and surrounding areas need to be advised quickly. When emergencies occur, people require trusted information to help them make life-saving decisions. BC emergency alerts can help share that information. Communities have multiple ways of providing information to the public during an emergency. Examples may be door-to-door notifications, social media, tsunami sirens, or subscription-based mass notification systems. BC emergency alerts are an additional tool meant to supplement, not replace, those existing notification methods, but when a BC emergency alert is required, it's effective and can save lives. Knowing this information will help you to respond to an emergency in your community faster and more efficiently. We've split this presentation into 3 parts, so it's easier to use. This presentation starts with an overview of what BC emergency alerts are and why they have a unique potential to save lives. In the second part of the presentation, sent as a second video, we will discuss how BC emergency alerts are issued for community-level emergencies. Finally, we will discuss how your community, agency, or ministry can prepare for issuing a BC emergency alert. We will also follow up in a third video with some helpful information on how to write a good alert. BC emergency alerts are a life-saving tool available to communities. Let's have a quick overview of BC emergency alerts. What is a BC emergency alert? BC emergency alerts are delivered to wireless devices and or via broadcaster over TV and radio. An auditory alert lets the receiver know to pay attention. This is followed by important messaging to those in the area of the emergency. The alert tone can be heard at alertready.ca. Here is a short example. This slide demonstrates the emergency alerting channels. Broadcast intrusive channels are those that are immediately interrupted by the alert. What is the difference between intrusive emergency channels and non-intrusive emergency channels? Intrusive means it intrudes onto the device. There will be a loud tone, that alert tone, and every device that is connected and compatible at the time of the alert, a television, a radio, or a mobile device, will receive it. You cannot opt out of these messages. Non-intrusive channels are channels that receive and share the alert in the chosen area, but only if you have downloaded the app or investigate the alert on X or a website. All alerts will be displayed on EMCR's Emergency Info BC website. A clickable hyperlink to this site should be included in the alert message. If it isn't included, then the receiver of the alert can be directed by either education or another means to the website, which is www.emergencyinfobc.ca. References to alerts may also be found on EMCR's Emergency Info BC X page. Third-party alerting apps such as Alertable and the Weather Network also display most BC emergency alerts. Although it depends on how the app was configured on your phone, notifications will likely be displayed for the alert, meaning that if you have one of these apps, you may receive a pop-up message with the alert twice, once via the issued emergency alert and once via the app notification. Let's talk for a minute about how these alerts work. When an alert is issued, it intrudes into people's lives to warn them of an impending danger. Broadcast alerts can be seen and heard on TV if people are watching a channel delivered by a Canadian television provider via cable or satellite. They will hear the tone and the television will display the alert as you see in the photo here. The alert will also be read via the text-to-speech process the alert issuer implements. If the alert's received over the radio, it overtakes the current programming and is heard over the radio. Again, the station the person is listening to should be a Canadian station. Right now, an alert will not be shared over most streaming stations like Spotify or CBC Gem. This technology is changing all the time and may be available soon. Wireless alerts are delivered to a wireless compatible device, like a smartphone, capable of connecting to an LTE network or better. LTE is commonly referred to as 4G LTE, and better right now is 5G. The device must be equipped with a recent version of its operating software and connected to an LTE cellular network when the emergency alert is issued, or joins the network while the alert is still active. It is valuable to know that a wireless device who enters the alerted area, providing the alert is still active, will receive the alert, even if it was sent a while ago, or if the device has already received the alert. If it goes in and out of an alert area, it will get the alert again when it re-enters the area. Different cell towers and carriers will deliver the alert differently. Some towers have the capability to alert just those closest to the situation, and others will alert a broader area. It's usually based on the power of the tower and the number of devices that are usually connected. Because of this, the alert will always be broader than the exact impacted area. Also, people close together may have different alerting experiences. All of this means that the message in the alert needs to be concise and accurate so people can understand whether they need to follow the directions in the alert. Cell phone alerts may also look slightly different depending on the phone. However, they are usually displayed on the lock screen as a pop-up notification on the home screen. To retrieve an alert on a mobile device, the user will usually find them in the notification history. Why use a BC emergency alert? When emergencies occur, people need trusted information so that life-saving decisions can be made. This usually includes what the threat is and where it is occurring. Is the alert receiver affected by the threat? What action should they take? And where can they learn more? We've already talked about communities' ways of providing this information to the public during an emergency. Remember, BC emergency alerts are an additional tool meant to supplement, not replace, these existing notification methods. They provide life-saving potential because, compared to traditional methods, they can distribute information more broadly to more people. They can be sent out very quickly. Also, they can be sent reliably to cell phones and/or radios and TVs within a targeted area, which generally matches the area at risk. Emergencies are usually local in nature, and the responsibility to alert is often on the local authority or First Nation. This responsibility to alert is legislated and usually lies with this First Nation or local authority, as they are closest to the hazardous incident and usually have a better understanding of what information is required for the people in their area to keep themselves safe. The Emergency and Disaster Management Act and Regulation, or EDMA, says that all local authorities and First Nations must have an emergency system, which, according to the definition, is a prescribed system or a system having prescribed characteristics designed to give warnings or notices to the public if an emergency is present, or to facilitate, coordinate, or carry out activities in relation to emergency management. As we've talked about, there are a variety of tools available to ensure residents are informed of an emergency. For example, many communities have tsunami sirens. While the province sends a tsunami alert via the BC Emergency Alert System, a community may also choose to use those sirens. Different hazards and threats will lead a community to use different tools. BC emergency alerts are for those unexpected situations with an imminent threat to people's lives. Remember, you also need to be able to provide instructions that will help people keep themselves safe. We have a link to the Emergency and Disaster Management Act on the slide, but you can also search for it on your internet browser. How do BC emergency alerts work? BC emergency alerts are intrusive, meaning that they are forced into cell phones and broadcast on radio stations and TV channels. On radio and TV, the alert automatically interrupts regular programming. For cell phones, the message is immediate and automatically pushed to all cell phones connected to cellular towers in the area. The public does not need to opt in, sign up, or download an app to receive the messages. On cell phones, alerts are sent as a one-way push message. It's like a text message, but it's different and uses a special feature built into modern cell phones. People cannot opt out of receiving these messages. The message may include a clickable link for more information. The National Alert Ready system is used to send BC emergency alerts. We do have a few caveats. Cell phones must be turned on, compatible, and connected to an LTE or 5G network to receive the alert. Alerts are only received on Canadian broadcasting, radio, and television stations. BC emergency alerts are different than mass notification systems like Alertable or Voyant Alert because they do not require the public to sign up or download an app. They are not sent as a text message or a phone call. They can interrupt radio and TV. They can only be used for immediate life safety situations, and they can only be used by authorized alerting authorities. This diagram provides a brief overview of the alerting process. This is how alerts are distributed to the public. Once the decision to issue an alert has been made by an authorized alerting authority, like a First Nation, a local authority, or a police force, an authorized alert issuer, such as EMCR or the RCMP, logs into the National Alert Ready system to enter the alert details. These details are how the alert will be distributed, the alert message text, and the target alert area. Once the details are agreed on by all involved and complete, the alert issuer will activate the alert. Environment and Climate Change Canada may also issue an alert directly through the national system. The national system immediately and securely delivers the alert to distributors. These are cellular providers and/or radio and television stations, depending on the choices made in the alert. The distributors will quickly and automatically send out the alert across the channels described in the previous slide. Public in the target area receive the alert across one or more of the channels, and if they are in the described area under threat, they should immediately take action and respond appropriately to the emergency situation. The next section provides BC-specific information about emergency alerting. These are the BC Emergency Alert criteria for issuing a new public alert. In most cases, an alert should only be sent if all three of these criteria are met. If they are met, then an alert should be considered. The criteria are: is there a threat to human life? Is the threat immediate? Sometimes immediate can be difficult to define exactly and depends on the situation. Generally, it means that the public should take immediate action. Also, are there recommended actions that could save lives? If these three criteria are not met, then other notification methods should be considered and are possibly more appropriate for the situation. These criteria help to ensure that alerts are effective and consistent, which builds public trust. Following these criteria help to ensure successful emergency alerting, which happens when the greatest number of public at risk are sufficiently supplied with the information needed to take action. There are two different types or categories of BC emergency alerts. The first category is community emergency alerts. These are alerts that are initiated by First Nations and local authorities due to a community level hazard. These communities have the authority to alert for these hazards. The hazards that are currently supported for community emergency alerts are floods and wildfires. Policies and procedures for other hazards will be added soon. Meanwhile, if your emergency event is not a flood or wildfire, but fits the BC emergency alert criteria, follow the procedures for those alerts, and EMCR staff will support you through the process. Currently, community alerts are issued through a centralized alerting model. This means that the issuing of alerts in the Alert Ready system is centralized at EMCR. For community alerts, EMCR only issues alerts based on information received from a First Nation or local authority. The second category of BC emergency alerts is provincial emergency alerts. For these alerts, the province, EMCR, is both the authorized alerting authority and the authorized alert issuer. These alerts will be sent for large-scale provincial-level emergencies such as tsunamis and extreme heat events, with more types coming soon. BC Wildfire Service is also an authorized alerting authority. There are other types of emergency alerts. Police emergency alerts, currently Amber Alerts and civil emergency alerts, can be requested by any police service in BC and are issued by the RCMP through a centralized model, similar to that used by EMCR for community alerts. Weather emergency alerts for things such as tornadoes, severe thunderstorms, and hurricanes are issued by Environment and Climate Change Canada. Earthquake early warning alerts began in the spring of 2024 and are managed by Natural Resources Canada. Sensors have been put in place in areas of the province that are prone to larger earthquakes. The alerts are automatic and may provide seconds to tens of seconds warning to people in the quake zone. The alert says earthquake detected. Drop, cover, hold on, protect yourself. Public Safety Canada has also recently become able to send alerts that have a wide area of concern. They tested this ability on May 8, 2024. We will provide more information on these alerts as we learn more. The focus of this presentation is the first type reviewed, community emergency alerts. The BC alert criteria also applies to updates, but in addition, updates should only be sent when the situation changes and the public requires new information. An update must also be sent if an alert is valid for greater than 24 hours. Some examples of when an update may be required are if the instructions that the public need to follow have been changed, or a population area was missed in the original alert. Also, if a new population area is at threat due to the spread of the incident. Why and how do we cancel a BC emergency alert? A BC emergency alert will continue to transmit to cell phones and wireless devices as people enter the alert area until canceled or expired. They will also show as active on alerting apps and on the Emergency Info BC site until canceled or expired. As soon as the threat is over, the alert should be canceled. Canceling an alert does not send out a new alert message. It just flags the initial alert as canceled. It is best to provide a bit of information when an alert is canceled rather than just let the alert expire. Some of that information could be, is the hazardous situation over? Does the hazard still exist, but everyone who is going to evacuate has evacuated? Or is there information that should be provided to the public through apps only that will help them to understand their next steps? An expiry date and time can be set when the alert is issued. For example, 4 hours from the time of issue. That alert will then automatically be canceled at that time. An alert will automatically expire or cancel at 24 hours past the time of issue, unless that expiration time is updated, as mentioned in the previous slide. Thank you for your attention to this important information. If you have questions, please contact your regional manager. If they can't answer them, they will reach out to the public alerting team for clarification or assistance. We've created another video that explains how BC emergency alerts, focusing on community alerts, not provincial alerts, are issued in BC. Please watch that one next. Hello, and thank you for continuing to engage with these videos on public alerting in BC. This next section explains how BC emergency alerts, focusing on community alerts, not provincial alerts, are issued in BC. What are the steps to issue a BC emergency alert? First of all, it is important to remember you are not alone. EMCR staff is here to support you throughout the process.
Your EMCR team has created a straightforward process to have a community alert issued. First, complete the emergency alert submission form, the EAS form, if there's time and the ability is within your community. If not, then skip this step. Then call the BC Emergency Alert number. This number is unique and only for BC Emergency Alerts. It will be answered as a priority. Then work with EMCR to finalize the alert message and the area. EMCR will then issue the alert. The EAS form can be found on EMCR's website or by Googling BC Emergency Alert Submission Form or even EAS form. There are PDF and online versions of the EAS form. The online version is easier to complete on a cell phone and works well on a computer. You just can't fill it out ahead of time and save it. You can fill out a PDF version in advance and update it with the current information.
Most of the alerts requested in BC are for floods or wildfire. We've created processes to help everyone involved in alerting to send out an alert efficiently. We have templates that we can use if the alert requester doesn't have the time or the knowledge to submit an EAS form and call the public alerting number to request an alert. We want to help you to get the information out to people in the alert area as quickly as possible. EMCR's staff is all here to help you. EMCR will also support you if you need to issue an alert that isn't for a flood or wildfire. You'd follow the same process as any other alert. Ensure that the 3 criteria for an alert are met. Complete the EAS form if there's time. Provide a map if it's possible. And once completed, the form should be emailed to emergencyalertrequest@gov.bc.ca. As mentioned previously, if you don't have time or ability to complete the form, call the ECC and provide the information verbally. Remember, you still have to call the emergency alert number in the ECC to get your alert request in. Once the initial alert has been issued, it may become necessary to update the alert. A few questions will need to be addressed. Does the update meet the criteria to issue another BC emergency alert to the public? How long will this new alert need to be available to the public? And does this updated alert need to be delivered via wireless only, broadcast only, or both? After the initial alert is issued, EMCR, through the regional managers or PREOC, will be in close contact and will assist and work with the community to determine when an updated or canceled should be issued. If an updated BC emergency alert is required, the best method is to follow the procedure for issuing a new alert. Create a new EAS form or update an old one and resubmit it. Call the ECC and work with the EMCR staff to update the alert and send it to the public. If the situation suddenly changes and there isn't time to work with the regional manager or PREOC, then the same process for the initial alert can be followed by calling the ECC directly. The emergency alert submission form is the best way to provide the EMCR staff with the information you want to send to the public via a BC emergency alert. On this slide, you will see a screenshot of the PDF version of the emergency alert submission form, the EAS form. A link to the online form is provided at the top of the PDF form. Either version can be completed. The form here is small, but we will be looking at it in detail when we provide more detailed training on using an EAS form and the best ways to alert the public in another training session. The EAS form requires the following information. First, a confirmation of the alert criteria have been met is required. There are 3 boxes to address. Is there a threat to life? Is the threat immediate? And are there recommended actions that may save lives? You will need to select the alert type. Is it new, or does a current alert need to be updated or canceled? The alert method must be chosen. Do you want to alert just cell phones, only radio and TV, or both? Also, are you submitting the alert for just your jurisdiction or in conjunction with one or more other jurisdictions? We will discuss more about how to do this in a following slide. Next, we ask you to provide your name, contact information, and a confirmation that you are authorized by your community. A description of the alert area is required. There is more information on this description on the next slide. Whenever possible, a map could be emailed, but a good description from someone who knows your community is very helpful. If the map can be submitted as a KML file, we can import it directly into Alert Ready. There is more information on the area description on the next slide. A description of the alert message is next. The EAS form provides some guidance. We will be following up with more in-depth training on how to write an effective alert. Please note the total character count at the bottom of the page. The maximum characters are 600 for a wireless alert and 900 for a radio and television alert. That character count includes all punctuation and spaces. Once completed, the form should be emailed to emergencyalertrequest@gov.bc.ca, or if you're submitting an online form, once you click submit, we get it. As mentioned previously, if you don't have the time or the ability to complete the form, call the BC Emergency Alert number found at the top of the form in red and provide the information verbally. The area to be alerted is the targeted broadcast area for the alert and usually should match the area that's under threat. The area should be described as thoroughly as possible. Use road names, landmarks, jurisdictional boundaries, river names, etc. to assist with mapping this area. A map can also be emailed to EMCR, which can greatly assist the provincial duty managers as they issue the alert. The area to be alerted must be completely within your jurisdiction or the jurisdiction of the community that is alerting. If not, then a joint alert, coordinated amongst all communities in the area under threat, must be submitted. We'll talk about this more in the next slide. Or multiple individual alerts required. Multiple individual alerts are not recommended, except in extreme circumstances, as the same people will usually receive all of the alerts, and it may be aggravating at best and confusing at worst. A joint alert is an alert issued in cooperation by multiple communities for an event that crosses jurisdictional borders or impacts several communities. A joint alert is preferable to multiple single community alerts for the same event, as alert areas can overlap, resulting in the public receiving more than one alert for the same event. This could cause confusion, especially if the alert message wording is different. Joint alerts should only be considered if there's time to do so without impacting public safety. The EAS form supports joint alerts by providing space for all communities to sign off on the alert. Exceptions for this sign-off will be made when there are known emergency management agreements between communities. When the alert is issued, it will be received by the public in a wider area than targeted. This is due to overreach in alerting. Why is that? For cell phones, all cell towers that service the target area will broadcast the alert. People outside of the targeted area will have cell phones connected to towers within the targeted area and therefore will receive the alert. This is difficult to predict exactly, as the way cell phones connect to towers is quite variable. For radio and TV, broadcast distribution patterns usually cover a wider area than targeted and change based on several different factors. These can't be targeted as precisely as cell phone alerts. Let's look at this process altogether. The process map on the slide displays the ways that the EMCR staff supports the community alerts. You, the community member requesting an alert, submits as much information as possible to emergencyalertrequest@gov.bc.ca. The alert requester calls the public alerting priority line at 1-855-952-5946. If you do not have time for an EAS form and or a map, please just call. Your call will be received and logged. You will be asked at least for your name, the name of your community, why you are calling, and for a phone number so you can be reached again if the call is lost. Your call will be transferred to a provincial duty manager, the PDM, who may ask some of these questions again. Please try to be patient. They may not have yet received all the information you have already provided. The PDM will ask more questions and start a coordination call. Our response information group supports by publishing a page on Emergency Info BC and sending Twitter messaging, as well as monitoring social media for themes and issues. The provincial response specialist will send notifications to applicable distribution lists. The regional managers, along with everyone else, will support communities. Your alert will be issued. Following is a bit of advice for preparing your community to issue a BC emergency alert. How can you prepare your community for issuing a BC emergency alert? Consider incorporating alerting into emergency response plans. Determine how alerting will supplement the other notification methods that you use. Exercise internal alerting procedures. Practice completion of the EAS form. Bookmark resources such as the EAS form and supporting material online. Have a backup plan. For example, phone EMCR instead of submitting an EAS form if your internet is down. Also, reach out to EMCR via the regional manager if you need help or support. Alert messages for known hazards, including evacuation routes, can be drafted ahead of time. The PDF version of the EAS form can be completed and saved somewhere easy to access. This will greatly speed up the process if an actual event occurs. If known hazards may also involve neighboring communities, work with those communities to plan and prepare for issuing a joint alert. Again, thank you for your attention to this important information. If you have questions, please contact your regional manager. If they can't answer them, they will reach out to the public alerting team for clarification or assistance.